Oh my God.
Really?
Well, we were just,
My head. Okay.
In 1986, Daniel LaRusso steps back into Mr. Miyagi's dojo in Okinawa. Mr. Miyagi greets him with a warm smile, then explains that the photos on the wall are precious memories of his ancestors. Among all the pictures, one figure was the most important, the very first ancestor who introduced karate to Okinawa. This incredible story all started with that legendary figure. This ancestor wasn't just a martial arts master, he was a skilled fisherman whose life was one with the ocean. One day, a huge storm tossed his boat about until he was shipwrecked on the shores of China. There, he was taken in by the kind-hearted Han family, and he was even taught the deep and disciplined art of Kung Fu. When he finally returned to Okinawa, he didn't just bring back stories, but a new martial arts legacy that united two different traditions.
Morning.
Welcome to Miyagi Family Dojo.
This is really something. Who are all these guys?
All the Miyagi ancestors.
The story then jumps to Beijing, where Mr. Han runs a martial arts academy that teaches not just fighting, but life values. Among his students, a teenager named Li Feng stood out with an incredible fiery spirit. Li always trained while listening to music, creating a cool fusion of traditional and modern styles. For him, martial arts was never just about the body. It was about bringing the heart and mind into harmony. One day, the peace of the academy was broken when Li's mother arrived with a firm resolve. She was adamant about taking Li to America, believing it would give him a safer future away from trouble. Mr. Han tried to explain that martial arts is a way of life that can bring light into darkness, not violence. But his mother had already made up her mind, leaving Li with no choice but to reluctantly follow his new path.
How long are you going to keep this a secret from me? New city, new language, and you can leave all this stuff.
When Li arrived in America, his heart was a mix of sadness and a new budding hope. He searched for food that suited his taste, eventually stopping at a pizzeria with a welcoming atmosphere. The owner, Victor, was cynical at first, but his daughter, Mia, greeted Li with genuine warmth. From a simple chat about directions, a sweet friendship between them began to blossom.
We call them bodegas here. Can I get a name for the order?
Yeah, Li Feng.
The next morning, Li explored his new city, riding the subway through the bustling streets. His eyes were suddenly drawn to a large poster for a martial arts tournament. In that moment, memories of his life and training in China flooded his mind. Li realized he was on a journey to find his identity in a foreign land, learning to be independent while keeping his heart and mind open. While walking home, Li saw Mia struggling to carry a very heavy box. Without hesitating, he offered to help, and they walked home together, talking and getting to know each other better. Mia was amazed by Li's fluent, accent-free English, making their conversation flow easily. Mia then advised Li to stay away from a gym known for causing trouble. But as fate would happen, Li accidentally runs into O'Shea. O'Shea tells Connor that he saw Mia and Li earlier. Connor was instantly jealous of Mia's closeness with Li and took his anger on someone else. Later that afternoon, they stopped by an auto parts store where Mia hesitated at an expensive price tag. Li cleverly used his Mandarin to negotiate and managed to get a huge discount. He even pretended to be Mia's boyfriend to seal the deal, which made Mia laugh and shake her head. In return for the discount, Li made a deal. He'd teach her Mandarin if she would be his guide to the city.
I could teach you some Mandarin.
Okay, fine.
That night, when his mother asked about his new friends, Li mentioned Mia's name with a smile he couldn't hide. He knew this friendship was becoming a new light in his journey. When Sunday arrived, Mia picked Li up on her scooter, ready to show him around the city. Their fun was cut short when the scooter suddenly broke down, forcing them to take the subway instead. On the train, they practiced Mandarin together, sharing stories and jokes that brought them even closer. But when they reached a station, trouble found them as Connor and his gang suddenly blocked their path. Mia told Lee to stay calm, but Connor kept provoking him, looking for a fight. Lee chose not to engage, but Connor suddenly threw a punch that left him dizzy and dazed.
Heads up!
Lee! Connor!
Outside the station, a regretful Mia apologized and explained that Connor hadn't been the same since he got deeper into karate. She also confessed that fighting him wasn't a wise choice, hinting at a painful history between them. Mia then shared that she and Connor had once sought escape from their own family problems together. Back at the pizzeria, Mia's father tended to Lee's wounds while offering him mature life advice. He urged Lee to always protect himself because life can sometimes be unfair and full of challenges.
She didn't much like me fighting either. Yeah, that'll work.
The next day, Lee's mother forbade him from getting into any more trouble and took him to the library to study with his friend Alan. That night, Lee gazed at a photo of his brother and his master, remembering the dragon kick technique he could never master. Unexpectedly, Connor showed up again looking for a fight, but this time Lee fought back and pushed him away. The arrogant Connor then challenged Lee to a fight, but with the condition that he could only use kicks. Lee gave it his all, but Connor managed to block his moves, knock him down, and then officially challenged him to a tournament. With a wounded heart, Lee walked home with his head down in disappointment. On the way, he saw a poster promoting Connor as the star of the upcoming tournament. That night, Lee snuck into the pizzeria, intending to find a way to fix Mia's scooter. But as he was there, two thugs arrived looking for Victor, the owner. Victor tried to resolve things peacefully, but was met with a punch that left him helpless.
Victor, look out!
Seeing this, Lee couldn't just stand by and immediately took on the thugs one by one. He unleashed a flurry of incredible martial arts moves, taking them down with precision and power. The terrified criminals fled, leaving a stunned Victor to ask where Lai had learned to fight like that. Lee explained that he learned Kung Fu in Beijing, but had made a promise to never use it for fighting again. Victor begged Lee to train him for one last fight to save his pizzeria, but Lee refused. He was bound by a promise born from a bitter tragedy in his past. That promise was made after he was unable to protect his older brother from an attack that led to his death.
So what happened?
Mia happened. Most people don't know the moment in mine every day.
Soon after, Lee saw Victor training alone and desperately, which stirred his heart. Lee decided to train him, seeing it as a way to also begin forgiving himself. The intense training began in a simple gym where Lee coached Victor to be more agile and resilient. As they were training, Mia arrived and was angry, but Victor convinced her it was for their collective good. Lee also continued teaching Mia Mandarin, and her conversation skills improved, making their bond even stronger. This progress, however, was seen by Connor, whose jealousy burned hotter, making him more determined to face Lee in the ring. Meanwhile, Victor grew more mature and stronger, slowly earning back the trust of his only daughter.
What do you think?
You might actually survive a fight or two.
One night, Lee found his mother asleep, clutching a photo of his brother, which reignited his own emotional turmoil. He unleashed his frustration during a training session, and Victor came to listen to his heartbreaking story. Victor then encouraged Lee to learn to forgive himself so that the pain wouldn't continue to be a burden. The next day, Lee was training his friend Alan at the pizzeria, still fighting the trauma in his heart. Mia asked if Lee would come to an event, but he seemed hesitant and unsure. The perceptive Alan pushed Lee to face his fears, but it was no use. When Lee arrived at the festival and saw Mia with Connor, his heart sank and he couldn't bring himself to get any closer.
Okay, well, what else?
Right before Victor's fight, Mia confronted Lee about his cold attitude. Lee finally confessed that he had seen her with Connor, making Mia realize the misunderstanding. She assured him that she had chosen to forget Connor for him, but as they were about to kiss, Victor interrupted.
Oh my God.
Really?
Well, we were just,
He didn't want any distractions to break his focus before his important match. In the ring, Victor faced an opponent who was much larger and stronger than him. His opponent, O'Shea, relentlessly taunted him, even betting that Victor would be defeated. But Victor remembered Lee's teaching to flow like water, and the intense fight began. The entire crowd held their breath in anticipation of the battle to come. Victor fought on relentlessly, taking blow after painful blow to his body. But in the second round, he stunned everyone by landing an inch punch that sent his opponent crashing down. The crowd fell silent, shocked by Victor's incredible hidden power. Now it was Victor who had the upper hand, moving with precision and landing accurate strikes. But when cornered, his opponent fought dirty under O'Shea's orders. An illegal blow knocked Victor unconscious, sending his body slamming against the ring's glass. Mia frantically searched for help, while Lee was frozen, haunted by the memory of his brother's death. Upon arriving at the hospital, Mia was relieved to hear that Victor's condition was stable. Lee's mother then confronted him, demanding to know about his role as a martial arts coach. Lee confessed everything, which broke his mother's heart, and she begged him to forget Kung Fu forever. Overwhelmed with guilt, Lee destroyed everything related to martial arts and distanced himself from everyone. But when Lee arrived home, he was attacked by an intruder in his kitchen. In his broken state, Lee couldn't fight back, only to discover the intruder was his master, Han.
Hey, Mom?
Hi.
Surprise.
Over dinner, Han reassured Lee that life is sometimes a fight in itself. He reminded Lee that what matters isn't how many times you fall, but how many times you get back up. Inspired by his master's advice, Lee mustered the courage to visit Victor the next day. Mia still kept her distance, her heart still hurting, but Lee sincerely apologized and Victor forgave him. Victor also shared his intention to move away, but Lee worried it was a sign of giving up. Victor assured him that moving wasn't about running away, but about taking a step toward a better future. Mr. Han then informed Lee that he would be competing in the district tournament with only 10 days to prepare. While searching for a place to train, they ran into Daniel LaRusso at a sacred shrine.
I came looking for you.
I appreciate you coming all this way, Mr. Han.
Daniel was shocked to learn that Han knew Mr. Miyagi, and Han explained that Miyagi had been his mentor. Han had sought out Daniel with the great hope that he would agree to help train Lee. At first, Daniel was hesitant to leave his current life, but Han asked him to see it as a chance to continue a martial arts legacy. Meanwhile, Lee's friend Alan offered his building's rooftop as the perfect training spot. Every morning, Han woke Lee up for rigorous and disciplined training sessions. Lee learned to balance his body, master the jacket technique, and perfect the legendary dragon kick. Despite the grueling training, his spirit never wavered, and he was determined to become stronger. Slowly but surely, his skills improved dramatically, and his movements became much sharper. Lee's mother eventually found out about the tournament and was deeply worried. Han patiently explained that this fight was a crucial part of Lee's journey to becoming a man. The tournament was also a way to honor his late brother, whom he loved dearly. In addition to physical training, Han was also very strict about Lee's diet to ensure his stamina was at its peak. On the other side, Connor was also training hard at his gym, filled with arrogance. One day, Daniel LaRusso unexpectedly showed up and gave an important correction on Lee's posture. Han and Daniel then introduced themselves to each other and agreed to train Lee together. They believed that with his talent and hard work, Lee could become a champion despite the short preparation time. Daniel focused on training the fundamentals, while Han taught him how to face a real attack. In the midst of training, Lee also learned to be honest about his feelings and how much he still missed Mia. Following his heart, Lee realized how important Mia was in his life. He then decided to fight to win back her trust and her heart. That afternoon, Lee deliberately ordered a pizza, knowing that Mia would be the one to deliver it. In that romantic atmosphere, Lee asked Mia to give him one more chance. After a moment of hesitation, Mia finally agreed, and they honestly shared their feelings with each other. Mia told Lee that he shouldn't fight for anyone else, but for himself, to find his own peace. Lee confessed that this was his true goal, to make peace with his past and find his true self. Hearing this, Mia gave him her wholehearted support, making their bond stronger than ever. With renewed spirit, Lee was finally ready to face the long-awaited tournament. The tournament kicked off with the announcement of a large cash prize and strict fighting rules. In his first match, Lee struggled a bit against his opponent, Buddha Stevens, but Lee managed to turn the tables with a knee strike to the stomach and a beautiful jumping kick. That combination instantly knocked out his opponent and secured Lee's first victory. Between matches, Lee continued to train hard with Daniel and Han. Daniel taught him the Yamasuki defense technique, which Han then refined with his own kung fu style. On the second day, Lee successfully defeated his opponent, while Connor also breezed through his matches. Connor seemed to be showing off his power, making it clear he believed he would be the champion. Finally, Lee and Connor both advanced to the incredibly tense semi-final round. Elsewhere, Victor finally came home to find his pizzeria specially decorated by Mia. It was a warm and touching moment, symbolizing a new beginning for them. The tournament continued, and Connor brutally disabled his opponent with a devastating kick. Lee's semi-final match was also extremely difficult. With one final spectacular kick, he knocked down his opponent and secured his ticket to the final round. O'Shea, seeing this, became furious and started plotting something devious. O'Shea ordered his men to ambush Lee before the final match could begin. Luckily, Han and Daniel arrived just in time and easily neutralized the attackers. Once the situation was calm, Daniel began to devise a special strategy to counter Connor's brutal fighting style. However, Han didn't fully agree, preferring a more comprehensive kung fu style. This difference of opinion between the two great teachers sometimes confused Lee a little. But in the end, they found a way to merge their teachings into a new, powerful force. Daniel insisted that Lee use the dragon kick as a secret weapon in the final. Lee initially refused because it was his brother's legacy, but Daniel convinced him it was the perfect moment. To perfect it, Lee trained relentlessly at a subway station, falling and getting up again and again.
Great! I get under the kick. Ow!
The night before the final, Daniel gave him Mr. Miyagi's headband as a symbol of their martial arts family legacy. When the day of the final arrived, Lee was surprised by his mother's arrival, who gave him her blessing and full support. Lee then asked Daniel to tie Miyagi's headband on his forehead, remembering his brother. As he walked toward the ring, he also received a respectful nod from Victor, a priceless moral boost. Finally, Lee and Connor faced each other in the center of the ring, their eyes full of determination. Connor continued to dominate the fight, cornering Lee and throwing him against the ropes. But Lee did not just give up. He rose with a calmer mind and clearer focus. He maintained his distance, waited for the right moment, and then perfectly deflected Connor's attack. In the incredibly tense atmosphere, Lee unleashed his legendary dragon kick, and shockingly, Connor did the exact same move. But Lee was superior. At the last second, he managed to dodge and land a decisive side kick. That ultimate move sent Connor to the mat and secured Lee's place as the true tournament champion. With respect, Lee chose not to celebrate excessively and to let Connor be. But Connor suddenly launched a cheap shot from behind when Lee's guard was down. Fortunately, the ever-vigilant Lee managed to block it and knock Connor down one last time. Lee chose not to strike back, showing the true honor of a warrior, and his friends immediately lifted him up in celebration.
Lee!
My head. Okay.
Sometime later, Victor's pizzeria business boomed, and he opened a new, larger branch. As a special tribute, Victor created a Chinese-style pizza and named it the Lee. Lee then sent one of those pizzas, along with a photo of him holding the trophy, to Daniel as a thank you.